Hey, thanks for everyone for joining, and I'm sure we'll get more people coming in. We are moving on here. Obviously, we're trying to get the timing of this down. This is the first AMA of many, and we'll be doing this on a weekly basis. I want to make sure that everyone has a good understanding of what we're doing, what the direction is to move forward, background on us, and kind of where we are looking for this project to go, and how you all can take part. So we're going to start off. I'm Send Fox. I've got M4 here as well, and introductions. So really, my background is in blockchain DeFi native, a lot of yield strategies, degen yield type strategies over the past many years, and M4 here, and we kind of had a lot of opportunity to do some good things together. Built a team, been building teams around this space, focusing on these types of strategies, specifically, since yield farming came out to now we have different applications in this space where you have actual liquidity, and that's really what we're doing here. And so really this project came out as an idea to not only enhance what an Ohm fork could be, but also enhance what a partner to Ohm and that Olympus ecosystem would look like, and also kind of revolutionize the thought process around where this can go. And so really what we're looking to do, we have a lot of connections in the traditional finance space through past work history, and we also have connections within the DeFi space, and we're building this protocol out with a team of anonymous developers. We have the developer from Tech, Blockchain Guru, is building the contracts right now, and we're also looking to continue to build our team out and build the development out. As you've seen, I've been posting all of the different partnerships advisory roles that we've been looking to fill. If you look through the general chat, you can see that we do have a strong team that is being put together right now, and it's really in an aim to facilitate our goals. And Ford, you want to do a little introduction on yourself?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've been in the traditional finance space for the last 12 years. Have a background in treasury, and if you know anything about Ohm, that's really the mechanic there, and understanding what that is. Been in the crypto space since about 2017, and just really wanting to perpetuate the space forward in the best way, and I think this project really does achieve that. I think a little bit about me, like I'm all about strategy, structure, people, and I say it like 5 times a day, and I think with that it's kind of in that order, but I do think we have the right strategy here. We've built the right structure, and we continue to do that. And then obviously the people is what actually moves it, right? And I think we definitely have and are continuing to obtain the right people on the bus to move this project forward and really make this something great.
So before we go any further, if you do have any questions, make sure that you post them in the AMA question chat, and CryptoSteez and Jeebus will both be moderating that chat and getting all those questions ready to go for us to be answering them later. Overview, so we just covered the background of us. I'll go into the project, what we've done so far on the project, and then where we're looking to go, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So I'm looking to kind of push through that really quickly so that you all can ask good questions, and I think the questions will align with the things that we're looking to talk about, so I'd rather just shoot to the questions as quickly as possible. So the project, right? So we have Standard digital assets, that's one side of the project, which it's a whole new crypto asset class, or an asset class within the space. And we also have StandardDAO, which is launching the first SDA. So what's an SDA? To understand that, you have to understand kind of the idea behind what a standard asset is. And if you think of, 1971, Nixon took the U.S. off of the gold standard. Gold used to back the U.S. dollar, and it no longer did that. And you have, these inflation events that then occur. So you look at what a standard asset is, and you can actually kind of identify some overall major characteristics of what that is. So we decided to jot some of those down and develop a loose definition of what a standard asset is, which is then what goes into backing a standard digital asset. And so the key characteristics behind standard assets, they are too big to fail. If you think of Bitcoin, everyone thinks of Bitcoin when they think of crypto, right? And if you talk to anyone on the street, they might not have heard of a Olympus token or anything within the DeFi space, but you better believe that they probably heard of Bitcoin and maybe even Ethereum. So we see Bitcoin as a digital store of value and the #1 asset by market cap in that class, as well as one with continued growth and adoption. We see countries adopting this asset, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere for the foreseeable future. We have Ethereum, which is the #1 platform for blockchain and smart contracts, specifically for adoption within DeFi. It has the largest market cap in that class and continued growth and adoption, also the most decentralized. And then, we have also Chainlink. When you think of oracles and what oracles are and how they enable smart contract platforms, Chainlink and that infrastructure that they're building is intrinsic to that world. They have over 1,000 partnerships, continued growth. They haven't been doing that well over the last year compared to, say, Ethereum, but they have just continued to push out more and more nodes and infrastructure there. So we have those three first, and then we also have gold traditionally. And so that's the other part of what makes up a standard asset. It's both digital and real world, or it can be, right? And so the major point of what is a standard digital asset is it's the digital representation of those assets. So we have the digital, now we go into the real world, and you can see Paxos Gold Token as a great representation of what that is. And then there are many more that will come after that, which, you think of real estate, you think of what KlimaDAO is doing with, carbon bonds. We can move into the energy space. We can really move anywhere in that way, as long as it's something that is on-chain and a bit available to be purchased by our treasury. So that's a bit of a background on the project. And then, what have we done towards this project so far? We launched the Discord about 3 weeks ago and really launched our push to bring people into the Discord, within a week and a half. And we've been doing a great job of that. You all have been instrumental in bringing folks in, getting the word out, getting the message out, and that's been great. We see this as being something that has huge potential, but with that being said, we haven't yet executed a raise, and we also haven't yet really turned on the marketing switch. We have one of the #1 marketing companies in the U.S. that will be marketing this with us, and that is something that we'll be turning on in the new year. And until then, we have all of us here in the Discord that will be instrumental in that process. We're starting our conversations with Ohm. We're starting our conversations with many of the other potential advisors, and not yet starting the conversations with more institutional investors for the pre-round raise. So we're really at the cusp of what this will be, and basically when you think about the new year is going to be a big push once everyone's kind of settled down from the holidays. And so we've got contracts deployed for the protocol. You can all see all the different areas that we have. We have Medium, Twitter, Discord, posts on all, as well as our website is live on front end, and the back end and Web3 for the contracts is still being built, and that should be deployed early Q1. And specifically on that train, we also have a number of developments with advisors, as you have seen, and that's a big part of what we're doing, at least for the next few weeks here, building advisors across DeFi and across the institutional space, of the traditional world, because we see this as being something that, requires the eyes and ears of not only, crypto and DeFi degens, but also everyone in the retail market, as well as the likes of institutions. And so, that kind of brings us to where we are going with this. We do see this as being something that can target, being a strong partner with Olympus, right? But then moving forward from there, we see a lot of opportunity to build upon what they have already done, and do it in such a way that no fork or even Ohm has done it yet. And we do see a gap in the market for that. So where this is going, it has potential, huge potential to be something that, crypto hasn't really seen yet, to tap into that retail market and to be the bridge between the CeFi DeFi world. And that is something that we're very excited about. And that being said, I think I'll just open up to questions to get a feel for the room and move on from there. No, I think that's a great question, and I remember that was John 43 that posted that. Thanks for the question, John. So, at the beginning, the point of this protocol is to achieve market stability, given that this is, we're looking to be a decentralized store of value rather than a reserve currency like many of the other forks and even Ohm. And so with that, the first goal that we have is to release bonds for stablecoins and gold. And we're looking at stablecoins as being the first level stability structure to make the protocol run. It requires those stables as the intrinsic value at base. But then from there, we're able to add in LPs for those assets and kind of move on to the assets that we're looking to really bring in as well. And so it's really about the order of which we'll go about that. So on launch, you're going to see stables and gold able to be bonded. We'll have LPs for them that will be paired with SDA. Then we're going to move in the direction of Ethereum next and target, the Ethereum community. And then closely after, we'll be doing at roughly a similar time Chainlink and Bitcoin. And we're doing reserves as well as the LPs for those at that time. And at a similar time, we will be issuing bonds specifically in the real estate space. And I think that's what's really exciting about this. We do have strong partners in this space to purchase large assets, specifically performing assets with high cap rates and that will help to stabilize and balance out what we're able to offer here. And we'll have more details on those partnerships as the weeks go on. But the main thing, or the main one that I did divulge, is with DigiShares. We do have Klaus Scanning, who has agreed to be one of our advisors, and they actually have one of the premier tokenization platforms for real estate, doing it in such a compliant way for regulations within and outside of US. And so now with Klaus, we're able to go out and tokenize the real estate assets that us as a community are looking to purchase through the bond mechanism, and that is something that's very exciting.
Fantastic. I'll do John's second question. So we just wanted to ask what blockchain the protocol would be based on.
Easy. Ethereum. We're holding Ethereum because it's the standard in the smart contract space. Keep it simple, right? That's what this protocol is all about, and we're just keeping it very simple. We're going to base it on, build on top of Ethereum, most decentralized blockchain that we have thus far, and there will be upgrades to Ethereum that will make it so that transaction fees won't be an issue in the future. Right now, I understood that they are quite high. Luckily, we are launching with auto staking bonds, which will help to mitigate those fees and maximize returns on launch and through the foreseeable future of the protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one's from Bako. What separates SDA from its competitors?
What do you got? Hit it.
I mean, so at its core, there's a couple things that we're really targeting to differentiate ourselves. One of those things is just the pure aspect of our marketing, right? And really that we're more of a store of value than a central reserve, right? So when you think about what's actually being done on the market right now, they're really targeting crypto-specific assets and not going into the more real-world aspect of that. And then I think the other thing is just with the marketing arm, and I think we have a lot of people on our team that have experience in just pure business, right, outside of crypto. There's a big understanding around adoption of people outside of, people that just know about Ohm, for example. So, with that, that's where we're going to be spending a lot of time and making sure that the UI and the marketing, right, and the ability for non-crypto native individuals to actually enter a project like this to obtain massive yields, and that's also backed by something that's more tangible. That's where we see a big differentiator.
And to add to that, because that's really the $1 million question, or in any case a $1 billion question. What is that differentiating factor? There are plenty of things that we look at the market landscape at present where we see a lot of improvement that can be made. And one of those things is purely just the UI, UX, and representation of the assets in the treasury. It's as simple as describing why and what they are to the non-crypto native user in a very brief description as well as in detail, right? So if you think of Ethereum, why would you want to bring in Ethereum? Well, we have ETH 2.0 coming out, which is enabling ETH staking. Well, now we have, if we're bringing on a huge reserve of Ethereum as an asset, we can then take that Ethereum and stake it in node infrastructure. And there are plenty of public companies that are coming out now that are specifically focused on Ethereum 2.0 staking. And we can then initiate partnerships with these companies that help translate across CeFi and DeFi and help bridge a lot of gaps for a lot of people and get the word out about what we're doing. And so that's one small area that we're looking to kind of bridge the gap. But then when you think of real world assets and how they are tangible, showcasing what it is and marketing it in such a way that people are much more interested in that tangibility of that asset and acquiring that and seeing that there's something real. They could go see it, they could visit it, touch it, and smell it, whatever, and be able to understand that that is the thing that is backing their asset that they're holding. That's a very strong and compelling argument for many.
Absolutely, that's a game changer. All right, next one's from Bearded. How does this differ from the current idea of treasuries, bonds, etc., being used to quote unquote back up monetary policies with the Fed? What other assets are being looked at besides the 3 out of the 4 being crypto? When it's been said most crypto are not quote unquote backed by anything to begin with. And no, that's not a dumb question, Bearded.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So I think there's definitely low-hanging fruit here where the easy ones are the crypto assets. And I think as we're starting this, you kind of have to start with those low-hanging fruit until you get to a stable protocol. But if you think about where we would go with this, and we've already touched on this, but real estate, right, energy. So we've already kind of had preliminary conversations with energy providers around solar, right, and credits that you can put on chain. And then there's just a lot of apparatuses just going forward where there's tangibility around stocks, right, and companies and putting that on chain. And so I think at its base layer, right, the concept is much more broad than I think what is being marketed right now. That you have to walk before you run, and we just understand that very, very cleanly. Again, going back to why we're different, right, than an OHM and all of our competitors, we are not a decentralized currency reserve. We are a store of value, right? So we're more a place where you can come to safe harbor, right, your funds, and that's conceptually what Bitcoin is meant to be, right? It's a store of value coin, but we are attempting to do that in a better way. And what I would say as well, we would be looking to hedge all of our assets, right? So if you think about the portfolio itself, really it's more about stability and growth than anything. And so that allocation can change, right, based on where we are in various cycles. But we really will be looking at potentially derivative products as well to hedge against certain things that would present volatility within our portfolio of the treasury.
And then to get more to that, the first part of that question, I'm reading it over now. How does it differ from current idea of treasuries, bonds, etc., being used to back up monetary policy with the Fed? Well, this is after about 6 months, we are looking to launch a DAO, a standard DAO, the standard DAO, correct? And as a DAO, and as this protocol is built, the token holders are the ones that have the say in the direction of the protocol, what is purchased, and mainly a say in the general monetary policy of the protocol in general. And that differs significantly from what you see in the Fed today. I don't know about you, but I didn't vote for a $4 trillion spend in the climate that we're currently in. And, this is not something that I think is sustainable, and I think that's the main, point of this protocol.
Absolutely. He's typing, so I'm going to see if he has a follow-up question. And if not, I'll move on to the questions that I asked community members. All right, so he said as a follow-up question, I comprehend the concept of a DAO. However, can't the same issues arise if a majority of tokens are held by a few?
Yes, absolutely. That is a huge, red flag to bring up, and which is why, sufficient decentralization is so important to the growth of this protocol and the proper growth. So, to that point, that kind of touches on where we're going with initial supply and how we're looking to supply to grow specifically. So we are doing and executing a pre-sale. There is a cap on the pre-sale per person of $250,000. And the pre-sale is specifically targeted towards institutional investors. The minimum amount is $20,000. This is not something that we're necessarily very public with, but there's a point to all of this, right? So we are raising $3.5 million to perpetuate the protocol forward in the development, the marketing, as well as auditing, making sure that everything's up to snuff, and making sure that proper teams are being paid and operational expenses are going forward for the development until the DAO is launched. And so that $3.5 million is the option contract. You might look at POM, and they have a medium on kind of what their function was, but we're doing a similar option contract, and the dispersion of those funds are going partly to the team, partly to advisors, partly to pre-sale, and partly to the DAO. The majority of tokens are actually going to the DAO, right? And they're vested over a long period of time. The first vesting schedule opens at 18 months. Second vesting schedule opens after 500 million tokens are in circulating supply. Then a billion tokens in circulating supply, 1.5 billion and 2 billion. That's when you'll see the full vesting open up. And so with that, we see this as a way in terms of limiting the actual kind of max distribution there to be able to limit centralization of tokens for one, but at its core, we're giving the DAO the majority share anyway, and the DAO can unlock that unlock and use that as they see fit, which the DAO will be decentralized in such.
Nailed it. All right. Well, I'll go into some other questions that I reached out to people about. Oh, wait. Okay. He said another follow-up. So technically, this is a security and not a cryptocurrency. Sorry for the basic questions if these are answered elsewhere. I'll check there.
Yeah, so a common misconception is that, a lot of cryptocurrencies are not securities. And that's something that we fully acknowledge, that, the majority of crypto are securities. If you think of a DAO where it gives you, a stake in a protocol as well as a vote in a protocol, which, a DAO specifically just acts as a decentralized company, that in itself looks and feels like a security, right? And so we're not shying away from that, and we're making sure that specifically on our advisory team, we have some of the strongest legal representation to go forward and build in such a way that we're able to target that question and operate in a manner that is regulatorily up to snuff, and we're not going to come back in 2 years and have the SEC down our necks and put us all to acquisition, and we're going to be good there. So absolutely appreciate the questions.
Yeah, those are great questions, Bearded. Great questions. If anyone else has questions, feel free to post them in there. In the meantime, I'll go over some other ones. So one of them was about whitelists. How's it going to work? Is it going to be like a lottery system or like a first come, first served type basis? How is it kind of going to be structured?
Oh, whitelist. So whitelist, we're going to officially announce kind of all the mechanics on Monday, I believe next week, in a Medium post. But at its core, I think everyone will notice that, there's certain people that have been promoted to an OG member or an OG role, and all OG members will have opportunity to get one whitelist spot. So you're still going to have to, complete a form and, identify, are you a U.S., non-U.S., are you an accredited investor, all these kinds of preliminary questions. Then really to get that whitelist spot, it's about getting into the Discord early and also participating in some sort of a way. So, something that we're doing right now is there are 14 spots for OG members open to those that have boosted our server as the first boosters. That's something that, people that come in and boost a server, especially early on, are really kind of showing some good faith to the project. Another way that we're giving whitelist spots are actually or whitelist / OG spots are people who showed up on this AMA and are asking questions. You'll notice, John, you had a question earlier, and then soon after, you received an OG spot. And that all of that is done in good faith. We're not necessarily going out and saying all the ways that you can get a spot. However, it's kind of the idea of participation or even a standard asset. You can see it, you can feel it. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to change over time, but we're all early here, so we're being a little bit more giving with those spots and making sure that we're incentivizing everyone to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. And then John kind of had Bearded had another follow-up question with that. So he's asking if accredited, you have to be an accredited investor to participate in the pre-sale. What about later sales, as in kind of like a whitelist? You have to be an accredited investor for a whitelist spot.
Yeah, so for the whitelist, we're actually going to most likely be doing a Reg CF, and that'll be on a platform that will launch with the NFT, and we're going to be doing it in such a way that it will be all regulatorily compliant so that anyone, accredited or not, will be able to participate. So that'll be something that will be buttoned up. As for the pre-sale, U.S. investors will have to be accredited in order to participate. Non-U.S. investors, as long as we operate under a Reg S, will not necessarily have to be accredited.
Gotcha. All right, another question, and I don't know if you've touched on this one already, but I'll ask it anyways. So how will you allocate what percentage of an asset you hold in a treasury? Like, how will that be allocated? For example, how will you determine that Bitcoin will be 20% of the treasury and gold will be 15%, and so on and so forth? Will that be completely DAO-based? And if that's the case, do you have kind of any insight on how that'll be structured?
So I'll start. There's market conditions that make it so that certain assets are more beneficial to the treasury than others at certain time points, right? Right now, it's potentially a great time to accumulate something like a Chainlink. Well, it's theoretically a low price to market. It's also a great time to be accumulating stable coins with kind of the market sentiment that we have right now. A lot of fear in the market, so it's all about kind of gauging where the fear is at and also where the projections are. Once the DAO is up and running, all of the treasury, options and purchases will be kind of made, and the direction of that will be made by the treasury team. There will be a team of individuals that will be running that, and the general direction will be voted upon by the members. However, the more granular stuff, I can leave that to M4 right now. Have any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think you answered it well. It definitely would be at a high level answer right now. We'll target a distribution on, say a quarterly or bi-quarterly basis, based on those market conditions that he's referring to. And that will dictate, the incentive that we're giving on these bonds to incentivize, someone swapping into one asset over the other. And I think there's mechanics in here, right, to always ensure that in certain certain environments we can highly incentivize individuals to go into one asset versus the other. For example, stable coins, right? That's obviously always safe. It would be somewhat stable, obviously, and that's where we'll start. Yes, hopefully that answered the question.
And also, if you look into the docs, you'll see there is a comparison of a gold chart versus the S&P 500. You can see over the past 30 years that the S&P 500, it had 3 significant dips where it dipped below 40%. And during the times of a significant dip in the S&P, you have gold that actually increased in value during those times. Obviously, it was a hedge or a store of value during those times. It was actually a good thing to be in gold. And so that's kind of the mentality when we're structuring this treasury.
And I mean, the last thing I'll add is for most of these assets, right, for your Ethereum, your Chainlink, I mean, even Bitcoin, if you think about like lending it, which we'll have to consider that, are performing assets, right, and that can obtain yield. And so there's mechanics there where, even the assets that we'll be bringing into our treasury, we will be, going out and putting those assets to work in, a safe and secure environment.
Yes, absolutely. Next question. So since you guys are trying to bring on assets that aren't in the digital asset space yet, such as real estate, for example, do you think there's going to be a significant challenge in trying to onboard the off-chain part of this vision that you guys see?
So, I mean, I actually don't think that is necessarily true, right? So, for example, the advisor that we have brought on, Klaus from DigiShares, they're actively engaged in this, right, and doing this on a regular basis for real estate. And so, to be honest, that one's easy to execute mechanically. More of the issue there is the regulatory aspect of what that looks like. And that's, one thing that we just are very, very keen on, understanding and doing it in the right way. With that said, right, these other assets, right, it is a wait and see approach. And right now, I think that we wouldn't necessarily be the ones, right, going out and actively trying to bring something on chain that isn't. But by all means, we will, reach out to those partners that have that potential capability and, try to perpetuate that forward, through the partnerships that we have.
And I think, he nailed it with that. And the one big thing is it's all low-hanging fruit first. And over the first 12 months, we don't foresee having a large enough dev support necessarily. And maybe we will within the DAO to be able to go do it. But we're expecting that the support in terms of company and development will be such that we're just targeting the things that are already on chain and maybe very easy to bring on chain. And so we're targeting just low-hanging fruit, collecting bounties to go and acquire that low-hanging fruit, and that is something that enables us to be a successful project.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I see it now. All right. Well, one of the last questions I have is, where do you see StandardDAO in the future of DeFi, and where do you see it sitting? And maybe how do you think it could potentially change it?
It's a great question. So I think I tackled a little bit of this in the where are we going. Right? And so opportunity here is to bridge the landscape between CeFi and DeFi. If you've done any kind of looking at what Chainlink is doing now, they have CCIP protocol. That's cross-chain interoperability protocol. They are taking companies like Celsius and providing node infrastructure to be able to actually go cross-chain without having to be on-chain. And they can take investments, put them into yield pools, earn yield, and then bring them right back to their investors without actually having to be on-chain at all. So when you think about that, that's very similar to a model that we would be, looking to build in collaboration with someone like Chainlink. And I'll take this one scenario. We have potentially in the future a large pool of Chainlink in the reserve. So not LP, just individual Chainlink. We're getting ready to stake. Staking is live, when staking, but maybe, one day in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, staking will be live. And eventually, we have all of these real estate assets that may or may not be fully on-chain, but let's say that they're tokenized in such a way that we can actually have them in the treasury, and we also have the revenues coming into the treasury, but there's a lot of things around that infrastructure that still need to be buttoned up. Chainlink is exactly the protocol that would do that, but it's all about the incentives for those node operators to support that infrastructure. If we, as a protocol and treasury, hold a large stake of Chainlink, then we will also have a large say in the actual nodes that are spun up to help adequately value all of the different real-world dynamic mechanics that surround our assets to bring them on chain. So we will have a significant say in the valuation of our assets that we want. And that is something that will start to incentivize the valuation of a lot of different assets when, if you look at what Chainlink's doing right now, their major impetus is to go out and value insurance and weather data. So they partnered with Associated Press and Global Weather Service. I know I got that wrong, but some of the biggest names in there. And one of the big things around that is it's really just where they've been incentivized to do that. And so if we have the direction of the incentives, then they will start to direct the energy towards our assets. And that becomes a beautiful partnership between us and Chainlink and the assets that we hold and any assets in the future that we're looking to acquire. And that starts to speed up the transition of the normal world into DeFi and blockchain.
Absolutely. I love hearing you talk about the vision because, you just have it so clear and concise. And yeah, but I'm all out of questions from the community. I don't know if you have any, Jeepus, or anyone else has any questions to ask. Well, alrighty then. Do we want to do any closing statements? If so, SendFox, take it away.
So, for one, I really appreciate everyone coming out here. This is the first AMA, and this is only getting bigger. And I think it's clear to see, week over week, we're going to have more and more members in this Discord and more conversation. What I will say is, to go back to the whitelisting and to go back to kind of our direction as a DAO in the future, we want to hear from everyone. We want this community to grow, and we want to grow the team. This is not my project. This is not M4's project. This is everyone's project, and we want everyone to feel responsible and like they have that say and are helping to push and form the direction of where we are going. We have ideas, but we want to hear your ideas as well. And I think that's the most important thing, and the way that we're looking to build this community. If you have any friends that you haven't spoken about anything like this before, I think it's a really easy way to help transition them into this world by saying, what if you've heard of Bitcoin? What if Bitcoin was backed by something? Would you invest in it then if you haven't invested already? These are very easy conversations to have. And the way that we're looking to go about this is we're trying to target all the low-hanging fruit in terms of all the real-world assets so that people can understand that crypto doesn't have to be this complex world where no one really understands all the different investment schemes that are happening inside it and also don't understand necessarily the tech. At its core, blockchain is just contracts. It's contracts that are smart. That should be an easy function, and the whole point was to simplify all the world's contracts, which currently are very complicated. And they have many caveats, and blockchain simplifies that. So, that's a big part of what we're looking to do. We're looking to simplify the direction of this space, which should hopefully bring in many more people into this space. And, if it's through our project or any other project, we're looking to partner with everyone in the space. That there's room for everyone to go around, and especially on this project, you all are here early, and we all will win this together.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, again, thank you guys so much for coming out and listening to this AMA. You're early, we see you're early, and that's awesome. So that's all I got.
Steez, if someone had a thought or wanted to engage in some way, what would be the best way to go about doing that?
Yeah. So if you have a thought or anything that you want to contribute to the project, scroll on down to the hard hat area. It's under standard, underneath general and then official content. It's a hard hat area. We already have a document that we'd love you guys to start working on. It is going to be about how standard digital assets are better than crypto, and that participation in that is a great way to earn a whitelist spot, FYI. But if you do have any other suggestions or things of that nature that you think would benefit the project in any sort of way, please put it into the hard hat area. We'd love to see it. And again, participation, we notice that, we see that, so that could benefit you greatly as well.
Awesome, everyone. This was a great event. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you at the next one.